Is it citizen activism or just vigilante justice?
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want justice!
Members of the new Black Panther Party offering a $10,000 bounty for the capture of Martin's shooter, George Zimmerman. But Zimmerman is not evading police. So far, they haven't arrested or charged him. The national spokesman for the Panthers denies that this is a call to violence. Take a listen.
All you have to arrest somebody is probable cause for murder. And if this wasn't a case of probable cause, I don't know what case is. And if it would have been a white done like that by, if a black youth would have shot and killed a white male, he would have already been arrested, and we all know this.
Once you get him into custody, as you said, what do you plan to do with him? Because if police haven't arrested him, how are you going to hold him?
Well, when we get him, they can come get him from us. And at that point, they need to charge him.
Do you feel that you're inciting violence by doing this, and that may be a possibility from your actions?
No, we're not inciting violence. We're doing what American citizens have been doing for many, many years. We're doing a citizen arrest, and we're asking other people who feel like us to help us do the citizen arrest, since Chief Bill Lee wouldn't do it.
All right, we just received a statement from the Sanford Police Department in response to the comments by the new Black Panther Party today, and it reads in part, and this is just in part, it says the city of Sanford does not condone the actions and recommendations of the new Black Panther Party. The city is requesting calm heads and no vigilante justice. And then it goes on to say, at the very end, the city of Sanford recommends all apprehensions be left to those trained to accomplish that task. Real quickly, Holly Hughes, you said to that?
If they had told George Zimmerman that on the 911 tape, Trayvon Martin would be alive today.
All right, thank you. We'll get back to Holly. Trayvon Martin's death is reviving some difficult, even painful questions about race in this country. Let's talk about it now with anti-racism writer and activist Tim Wise. He is the author of Dear White America, Letter to a New Minority. Tim, thank you for joining us. First, I'd like to get your reaction to what you just heard, those comments from the new Black Panthers, and the fact that the new Black Panthers are trying to get involved in this case.
Well, this story is not about the new Black Panther Party. It is about a white-dominated police department that has a history of not doing its job when it comes to investigating the violent assaults or even killings of black people in that town. So I think that's a distraction. This is about law enforcement's obligation to do its job. And I think we all know that if the shoes had been reversed and a black person had trailed a white person into a neighborhood looking for them, and then that white person, they jumped on them and then ended up killing them, that this would have probably turned out quite a bit different.
I want you to listen to what one of the witnesses up to the shooting told CNN's Anderson Cooper.
What was your impression of the police's attitude toward this? Did you form an impression?
They were siding with him.
With Zimmerman?
Oh, yeah.
What makes you say that?
I guess just their nonchalant attitude.
Does what she say surprise you, Tim?
Not at all. Look, I've done trainings with law enforcement around the country, and I've spoken to lots of officers, and of course, they're good, conscientious officers, but I've asked them in those trainings, you know, what's the first thing you think when you see a young black male driving a nice car in your community? And inevitably, they say drug dealer or some other kind of criminal. When I say, what about a white male, same age, driving the same kind of car, they say, spoiled little rich kid, daddy probably bought him a car. If law enforcement has those biases, we ought not be surprised that they then enforce the law in a differential way when something like this happens. Tim,
George Zimmerman's dad has issued a statement pointing out that George Zimmerman is a Spanish-speaking minority, as if to say, hey, this isn't strictly a black and white issue. How does that fit into the discussion? Just because you're a minority doesn't mean that you can't be biased. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you can't be homophobic. How does that, does that even make sense?
It means absolutely nothing. Research for 20 years now has found that large numbers of white folks and Latino folks, for instance, have anti-black bias. The fact that a person of color may have the same bias against black folks or other people of color that a lot of white folks have means nothing. There were black slave owners. That doesn't mean the institution of slavery was not anti-black racism in this country. That means absolutely nothing at all.
More with Tim Wise coming up in just a bit. Tim, stay right there. Thank you very much. Concerned Black Mothers. It's a group that caught our attention in the light of this Trayvon Martin killing. What mothers of young black males are telling their sons about how to survive in America today? It's a conversation you need to hear. Now back to our coverage. Being a mom is already a tough job, but imagine the difficult conversations black mothers are having with their sons in the wake of the death of Trayvon Martin. I'm joined again by anti-racism writer and activist Tim Wise, and joining me here in studio are Natalie Brown and her son Nicholas Haswell. Also, Mom Dieta West. First to you, Ms. Brown. What went through your head when you heard about the Trayvon Martin killing?
Well, I thought about my son, because after seeing the pictures on the internet of Trayvon Martin, I thought he was a 14-year-old child, not knowing that he was 17. My first reaction was to speak to my son and tell him that things like this does happen in life, and we don't know how to prevent it. But sometimes they look at the way we dress, the way we walk, what we do, and we don't want that to happen. We want all of that to stop.
Nicholas, do you understand the conversation when your mom? How did you handle it? Do you live it? It's hard. And if you happen to be in that situation, I would imagine it would be tough to follow every single thing that she said in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I listen and, you know, I just follow my mom's wishes so I don't end up with this happening to me. And, you know.
What did you think when you heard about this?
Well, at first, I thought, like, how could this happen to somebody, an innocent boy, just walking? He didn't do nothing wrong. And being that his skin color is brown, he had to get, you know, shot, killed for no reason.
Ms. West, I know that you have a son as well, and you're very passionate about this. I know that you spoke to him about it, but he also talked to you and wrote something I think that's very poignant. You want to read it?
Yes.
How old is your son again?
He's 22.
20. What did he write?
Well, I don't know if I have time to read the whole thing.
Just read, if you can read a portion of it, yeah.
Okay, so he started out by saying, what is justice? What is peace? Can you tell me? Can you? You probably could, but it's going to be a major waste of your time, because I don't believe in either anymore. Then he goes on to say there's something seriously wrong with this picture. And another thing, if you call the police and they tell you to stop following the person because there's a conclusion that he's a non-threat, why proceed? Lastly, how is it not obvious to you that he was the one that felt he was in danger because of your suspicion? Man, I don't know how I really should think, but I do know one thing. If this was my brother, cousin, nephew, or son, good old Mr. Zimmerman wouldn't have made it to that prison or courthouse, for that matter. But of course, that would have caused more problems. So if earthly justice won't prevail, then it's in God's hands. Truthfully, it really is. I'm done. That's what he is. I'm just done.
There are a lot of shaking heads on the set right now. And what does that do to you as a mom? Tell us, and to have to have these conversations.
Right. It just totally rips my heart out, because we started these conversations, my husband and I, with our son at an early age, and not to the point of just being real blatant. We kind of skirted around it by building him up, by speaking words of wisdom like, you are somebody, you're going to be the best, you're going to be great, without really calling the race card or going to that place. We wanted our son to grow up in a place where he would know that he is somebody and he's special. But as he grew older, then we had to kind of go into that place like, you know what, you're different. That just check it out, son, and, you know, avoid confrontations. When you start driving, don't reach quickly into your glove compartment if you get stopped for a speeding ticket. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Every chance you get, do exactly. My parents had the talk with me. I don't have kids, so I haven't had the opportunity to have that talk, but they had the talk with me, because when my family did fairly well, and it was, where did you get that fancy car, boy? Who are you driving this car? And sometimes I'd have to leave the car there and walk home until they figured out exactly what happened. Before we're going to go to a break quickly, but you were shaking your head as well. And what does this do to you?
It hurts my heart, because as a parent, you don't want anything to ever happen to your children. You don't want any of this. And then growing up, I have an interracial family, so we didn't have to play the race card because we're mixed.
Right. Thank you. More with our moms, reactions from our moms and our entire panel right after the break. Don't go away.